Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Boston Marathon bombing. On April 15, 2013, two homemade bombs detonated 12 seconds apart at 2:49 p.m. near the finish line of the annual Boston Marathon, killing 3 people and injuring several hundred others, including 16 who lost limbs. On April 18, the Federal Bureau of Investigation released images of 2 suspects who were almost immediately identified as Chechen-American brothers Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and Tamerlan Tsarnaev. The brothers killed an MIT policeman, kidnapped a man in his car, and had a shootout with the police in nearby Watertown, during which 2 officers were severely injured, one of whom died a year later. Tamerlan Tsarnaev was shot several times, and his brother ran him over while escaping in the stolen car. Tamerlan died soon after. An unprecedented manhunt for Dzhokhar Tsarnaev ensued on April 19, with thousands of law enforcement officers searching a 20-block area of Watertown. Residents of Watertown and surrounding communities were asked to stay indoors, and the transportation system and most businesses and public places closed. Around 6 p.m., a Watertown resident discovered Dzhokhar hiding in a boat in his backyard. He was shot by police while still in the boat and then arrested. During questioning, Dzhokhar alleged that he and his brother were motivated by extremist Islamist beliefs and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, that they were self-radicalized and unconnected to any outside terrorist groups, and that he was following his brother's lead. He said they learned to build explosive devices from an online magazine of the Al-Qaeda affiliate in Yemen. He also said they had intended to travel to New York City to bomb Times Square. On April 8, 2015, he was convicted of 30 charges, including use of a weapon of mass destruction and malicious destruction of property resulting in death. The following month, he was sentenced to death. Bombing. The 117th annual Boston Marathon was run on Patriots' Day, April 15, 2013. At 2 bombs detonated about apart at the finish line on Boylston Street near Copley Square. The first exploded outside Marathon Sports at 671-673 Boylston Street at 2:49:43 p.m. At the time of the first explosion, the race clock at the finish line showed 4 hours 9 minutes and 43 seconds, reflecting the elapsed time since the Wave 3 start at 10:40 a.m. The second bomb exploded at 2:49:57 p.m. about 12 seconds later and 1 block farther west at 755 Boylston Street. The explosions took place nearly 3 hours after the winner crossed the finish line, but with more than 5,700 runners yet to finish. The blasts blew out windows on adjacent buildings, but did not cause any structural damage. Runners continued to cross the line until 2:57 p.m., 8 minutes after the explosions. Casualties and initial response. Rescue workers and medical personnel, on hand as usual for the marathon, gave aid as additional police, fire, and medical units were dispatched, including from surrounding cities as well as private ambulances from all over the state. The explosions killed 3 civilians and injured an estimated 264 others, who were treated at 27 local hospitals. At least 14 people required amputations, with some suffering traumatic amputations as a direct result of the blasts. Police, following emergency plans, diverted arriving runners to Boston Common and Kenmore Square. The nearby Lenox Hotel and other buildings were evacuated. Police closed a 15-block area around the blast site. This was reduced to a 12-block crime scene on April 16. Boston Police Commissioner Edward F. Davis recommended that people stay off the streets, dropped bags and packages, abandoned as their owners fled from the blasts, increased uncertainty as to the possible presence of more bombs. There were false reports of more bombs. An unrelated electrical fire at the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library in nearby Dorchester was initially feared to be a bomb. The airspace over Boston was restricted, and departures halted from Boston's Logan International Airport. Some local transit service was halted as well. The Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency suggested people trying to contact those in the vicinity use text messaging instead of voice calls because of crowded cell phone lines. Cell phone service in Boston was congested, but remained in operation, despite some local media reports stating that cell service was shut down to prevent cell phones from being used as detonators. The American Red Cross helped concerned friends and family receive information about runners and casualties. The Boston Police Department also set up a helpline for people concerned about relatives or acquaintances to contact, and a line for people to provide information. Google Person Finder activated their disaster service under Boston Marathon explosions to log known information about missing persons as a publicly viewable file. Due to the closure of several hotels near the blast zone, a number of visitors were left with nowhere to stay. Many Boston area residents opened their homes to them. Investigation. The Federal Bureau of Investigation led the investigation, assisted by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Counterterrorism Center, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, and named 2 official suspects. United States government officials stated that there had been no intelligence reports that indicated such a bombing would take place. Representative Peter King, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, said, "I received 2 top-secret briefings last week on the current threat levels in the United States. And there was no evidence of this at all." Following the identification of the suspects, their father claimed that the FBI had been watching his family and questioned his sons in Cambridge, Massachusetts, 5 times in relation to possible explosions on the streets of Boston. Evidence found near the blast sites included bits of metal, nails, ball bearings, black nylon pieces from a backpack, remains of an electronic circuit board, and wiring. A pressure cooker lid was found on a nearby rooftop. Both of the improvised explosive devices were pressure cooker bombs, manufactured by the bombers. Authorities reportedly confirmed that the brothers used bomb-making instructions found in Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsulas Inspire. After the suspects were identified, the Boston Globe reported that Tamerlan purchased fireworks from a fireworks store in New Hampshire. On April 19, the FBI, West New York Police Department, and Hudson County Sheriff's Department seized computer equipment from the suspect's sister's apartment located in West New York, New Jersey. On April 24, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security reported that its investigators had preliminarily reconstructed the bombs, and believed they had been triggered by remote controls used for toy cars. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.